got beat up even more from my biological mother. It was, have you ever heard, damned if you do, damned if you don't? And this is what happens when you're in dysfunctional families. And so have you ever heard this phrase, sometimes you never know what you have until it's gone. And when I got to be 14 years old, they got so tired of kicking me out week after week, month after month, year after year. So they actually completely kicked me out, abandoned me. She put me in a car in Chicago, and she drove the car down to Tupelo, Mississippi. She opened the car door, and they kicked me out. I had about 3 brothers and 2 sisters at the time, and I was the only one. They just left on the side of the road. I didn't know anybody, no relatives, and all I can say is I had no food, no water, no clothing, only the clothes I had on, a raggedy pair of shoes, no place to lay my head, not a known relative, not a telephone number, not an address. In Chicago, I would sleep in abandoned cars and abandoned buildings, and with my friends sometimes, and try to make an igloo with the snow and the ice just to protect myself from the wind. But now I'm in Mississippi and it's hot, and I would have to sleep in different abandoned cars, abandoned buildings, sometimes sleep on people's front porches, their pastures. In the north, I was afraid of what they called the super rats. These rats were so big that the dogs and the cats were afraid of the rats. And now I'm in Mississippi, and now I'm not afraid of the rats. First, I was afraid of the snakes. So I would sleep on a person's pasture, and sometimes you wake up and you feel something slithering across your neck. You're like, oh, goodness gracious, I think that was a moccasin or some sort of snake. And so then I would try to get off the ground and sleep on somebody's porch. But I hate to admit this, it's kind of funny, that I wasn't one of those calm sleepers that just you could put them in one place and where you put the cover and they wake up at the exact same place where they went to sleep. No, I was in the rock and roll in my dreams. That means when I go to sleep, I'm rocking and rolling. It's like, whoa, rocking and rolling. And so when you sleep as a homeless person on somebody's porch, and you're in the rock and roll, and you're asleep, the people who live in that house go to sound like you trying to break into their house. Because they hear this noise on their porch. So I had several families who would take out their shotgun and come out at 3 in the morning. And as soon as I would hear them, see the light come on, I would just run. Because I wasn't trying to break into their house. I was just trying to get off of the ground so I didn't have the snakes and things like that. I was very fortunate being completely abandoned. I hate to say this. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Because they say this nature versus nurture debate that sometimes your environment that you're in has a huge impact on what you become. There are certain seeds that you put in one environment, the seed will not grow. Take that same seed, put it in a different environment, and it will grow and blossom because it's like-minded. It's in a place that is conducive to its growth. And this is what happened to me in Mississippi. And so the community got tired of seeing me just eating out of their garbage cans, sleeping on their front porches, and the community, just like you guys do right here, they banded together. They created something. They're like, well, hey, I think he's coming down to your house tonight. And the other one, no, I think he's going to sleep at your house tonight. And they would try to pass me off. I didn't know any of this until way after this had happened. I didn't realize that they had a homeless coalition. It was an informal coalition, but lo and behold, they just said, we can't solve the whole problem, but what can we do just little by little to help this situation? Eventually, just help him to get to school, help him to go back to get his education, help him to do this. And so eventually, they realized that they were running out of resources, so they called social services, who called the police. The police came and got me off the street. They put me in handcuffs. They threw me in jail because they didn't have any other, like, we don't know what else to do with you. And fortunately, I had a counselor at that time who gave me these options. And they would, Terry, I don't know how you got here. I don't know where you came from. I said, well, this is where I came from. They're like, why can't we take you back to your biological parents? I'm like, they're just going to kick me out again. They said, kick you out again? I said, I've been kicked out since I was 4 years old. And to see the look in her eyes, like, who would kick out a child at 4 years old? They had never seen such a thing before. common in the environment that I was in. It was uncommon in the environment where I was. And that was the greatest thing that happened to me. They ended up putting me in a boys' home called a halfway house, a boys' home called the Alpha House. I stayed in the boys' home for about 3.5 years. And when I aged out of the boys' home, I was put in the foster care system. But in the boys' home, I'll never forget the founder, Jerry Clayton, went and told me, he said, Terry, I don't know how you got here, and I can't solve all your problems. But, and this is what I would like to relay, especially to the homeless that are here in Nampa and Greater Boise and things like that. Sometimes we can't all solve the whole problem. But I do have a shirt that you can wear. And somebody else, a doctor says, well, I may not have a shirt or pants, but I can help you get glasses so that you can see when you get to your classroom. And somebody else will say, well, hey, I got the place where you can get some shoes. I can't do the shirt or the pants, but I can help with the shoes. And so it was this community who banded together, each one doing the part that they could do. And this is what happened to me. And he says, all I can do is give you a chance. But it's up to you. And I really do believe it takes two parts. You can't help every homeless person that is in this community. Why? There are some homeless people who do not want to be helped. That's a sad thing to say. And then there are some who do need to be helped, but they don't even know what they need. There are some who are mental issues and trauma. Some have been raped, some have been beaten, and they can't even verbalize, well, what's wrong? They don't even know. Sometimes when you suffer severe trauma, it's like a psychological dead man's bones that are buried inside, and you put dirt on top of it. And have you ever seen somebody bury somebody alive? And so you hear this noise when you walk by the ground. You're like, what are you saying? Speak clearly. It's like they can't speak clearly because it's so deep and they don't even have the words to express it. I was the same way. There was a time I could not get up and speak to a group like you because I didn't even realize the full effects of the trauma of being beaten and hungry and homeless at such a young age. I had to go through years of learning how to trust again because my biological family was like God in that sense. I know this may sound strange, but think about it. They brought me into this world. They are the one that gave me my name. They're the one that provide food. I learned my language from my parents. And when they leave, it felt just like God leaving. My whole existence is now just out there. What do I do every day? And I've learned my lessons, and my lessons will be things like this. I learned to receive the good and wherever I receive it from. And I also learned to be thankful. Even though it's been a while since I've been homeless, I've been back to that community in Mississippi who helped me. And I've been back, 50, 60, 70 times to say thank you. When I aged out of the boys' home, the Alpha House, I was put in the foster care system. And to make a long story short, I lived with black families, white families, Hispanic families, pretty families, ugly families, and pretty ugly families. Every type of family that you could name, I have lived with them. And so, at least in the juvenile court system, the religion of the family was not to be taken into consideration, separation of church-state. At least that's what they did in that jurisdiction. And so I've been Catholic, Methodist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, AME, CME, Baha'i. I've read every family I went to, they would tell me, if you want to live in our family, Terry, you have to go by our rules. Here's the thing that nobody tells you. It's just like, I live with the Jameson family on a Monday, and they live on this side of town. They have a completely different set of rules. Then 2 weeks would go by, I would live with the Smith family, who's on another side of town, and the way they operated their household was completely different than the Jameson family. And then I lived with the Rutherford family. And so every family, I would have to read the Bible from Genesis 1:1 to Revelation 22:21. I've read the Book of Mormon. I've read the Holy Quran. I've read every holy book that you can imagine. I've been to fish fries. I've been to seances. I've been to bingo. I've been baptized in the name of Jesus. I've been baptized in the name of Mary, the Mother of God. I've been baptized, I've been dipped. I've been submerged. I've been just about, when I go up to heaven and I meet Peter at the gate, Peter's going to turn around and he's going to say, listen, were you dipped? Yeah, I got dipped right here, see? They click, I've been dipped. They say, were you submerged? Yes, I've been submerged right here. I passed that test too. They're like, have you been yeah, I've been to fish fries. I've been to seances. I've been to demons. When they cast the demons, I've been to that one too. You just about named it. I've been with atheists. I've been with agnostics. And as a foster child, I had no say-so in what family that they put me in. I had to adjust and to adapt. And so when I talk to kids now who only have one family, yeah, you don't understand how strict my parents are. But you think you've had a bad day? So I think the kids today should be so grateful to have somebody just have a bed to sleep in and food to eat, and they gave you money for lunch money too. It's just like, and you're complaining because you don't have an iPhone S6 WDZ with the band charger on it. It's like, you are blessed beyond anything that I can imagine, because my life didn't go anything like that. I've learned to see the good no matter where it is. I've learned to adjust myself. And these are the things that made the biggest difference in my life. So I just want to leave with you a few tips that I learned from being homeless. And I think we all can learn from this. Most of you all probably already know these things. This is from the seed. I really do believe that our hearts and our minds are like soil. And each seed produces fruit after its own kind. And here's the thing that no one tells you. The radio stations you listen to, the magazines you look at, the people you listen to, you either choose to be the gardener of your heart and mind, or you just leave your field just open so anybody can throw any trash into it that they want to. Who is responsible for your heart? Who is responsible for the soil condition of your heart? Truth is, nobody but you. When you're little, maybe your parents have a bigger influence and say so. But there are even some kids that the parents are really good to, and they just decide to go their own way. It's like, I know what y'all said. You heard some prodigal son? He had a good family. He decided that, hey, I don't like these rules. Y'all too strict. Give me what's mine. It's like, they'll eventually come back when they realize how the real world is out there. And so I just realized that I had to learn to govern who to listen to. I don't hang around with a bunch of naysayers. I don't hang around with a bunch of, you can't do this, you can't do that could never happen. I used to be homeless eating out of garbage cans, and now I'm working at NASA. How are you telling me what's possible and what's not possible? I've experienced that. You never know what could happen. I did so well in high school. I found out that I had the gift of music. I could play Bach and Beethoven in high school. 2 years after being homeless, I won math competitions, spelling contests, carpentry contests. I did so well, I found out I was gifted. I did so well in high school that they took me an IQ test, and I found out I was really good with memory. And they would tell me a number like 7, and you can't write anything down. You can't write it. You just got to just remember it. I would say 7. They would say 5. I would say 7 and 5. They would say 1. Say 7, 5, 1. They would say 0. I'd say 7, 5, 1, 0. And the question is, how many digits can the regular person remember? And they said pretty much like 7 plus or minus 2, like an area code and a telephone number. And so when I got up to like 54 digits without writing anything down, and I could see the numbers in my head and split them in half and alternate the numbers from the left and the right, going from the inside to the outside, NASA called me about 3 weeks after that, and they said, you got to come work for us. So I started working at NASA 3 days after my high school graduation. And working at NASA, I go on a cooperative education program. And in this program is where you alternate semesters between school